welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new collection from Melt Cosmetics, the Amor Eterno collection, or Eternal Love. I don't have the entire collection, but I'm pretty darn near close. This collection launched at the end of November, although it was available a little bit earlier on their website if you had the code to get into the website. But let me run through it so that you can hear the prices. Now, when I bring up the Melt Cosmetics website, it knows that I'm Canadian, so it shows all the prices in Canadian. So those are the prices that I'm going to give you. So the palettes retail for $76.36 each. The highlighter is $51.35. The liquid lipsticks, they're available in a trio. They are sold for $52.66 as a trio, or they retail for $25.01 individually. The pricing kills me, I think it's hilarious. There are also gel liners. There are 4 colors available. You can buy them in a set for $72.41, or they retail as well for $25.01 individually. There's also a brush set which retailed for $105.33, or the brushes had various prices individually. I did not pick up any of the brushes. So what I did get was I picked up the 2 palettes, the trio of liquid lipsticks, and 1 of the gel liners. I wanted to buy the highlighter so badly. It's so beautiful. I'll just put a little picture up here so that you can see the artistry that is this highlighter. It's gorgeous. However, it has a very strong pink shift to it, and pink highlighters and I just sadly don't get along. They just do not look flattering on me, and for $51, I just couldn't buy it simply because it's pretty. Luckily, the aesthetic carries through to all of the other products as well. So I'm going to show you all of the outer packaging on things, and then we're going to talk about it sort of product by product. I do have an eye demo for each of the palettes that I'm also going to include in here, and we're going to do some swatches of the liquid lipsticks. The shadows that I'm wearing on my eyes right now do come from the Vita palette. I just used the neutral options, and then I have one of the Becca highlighters in Moonstone. That's the little bit of shimmeriness that you see there, but I just wanted to keep it very neutral because I knew I was going to be doing lip swatches and I didn't want anything competing and throwing the colors off. So that's why we're as neutral as we are. So let's start off with the packaging, because whoever came up with this like creative design deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for just beauty because the packaging is incredible. So let's start off with the gel liner. So this is the outer unit package for the gel liner. So you get it in the color that the liner is. Obviously I went for the dark green, which is called Fortuna or Fortuna. I know 0 words of Spanish. I will butcher the pronunciation. I apologize up front. I will do my best, but forgive me. So there's what the outer packaging looks like once you open it up. And I'd also point out, like, the box has that almost like the NARS packaging where it's almost rubberized. It has that feel to it. It's not just strict cardboard, but it's so cool, especially with like that little bit of die cut on the top there. There is what the actual product looks like. So again, the color is available on the lid, which I think is really helpful, because if you did buy the 4-pack of this, if you just had them sitting in a drawer, you would be able to like very easily tell what color you have. Just so you know, there is the dark green, there is like a cobalt blue, a mustard, yellow, gold, and a black available, and obviously I went for the dark green, and it is a very, very dark shade. So I have worn this. I said I was going to do the outer packaging, but let's just talk about this one because we have it here. I have worn this one a couple of times, and I've been very impressed with the formula of this. It isn't dry or difficult to apply at all. It goes on fully opaque, so you don't have to build up a bunch of layers to get that color payoff. I've also found that it doesn't flake or crumble on the eyes. It is very long lasting, and I haven't had any issues with it smudging. It does dry down rather quickly, but still with enough time that you can manipulate it and create a wing or do whatever it is, whatever design it is that you want to do with it. So I am very, very impressed with this. All right, let's talk about the eyeshadow palettes. Then we'll move over to the lips. We'll do the lip swatches, and then I'll play the eyeshadow demos at the end. So that's going to be our flow here. Again, the packaging is bananas. It's so beautiful. So you get the two palettes together and they create this incredibly gorgeous sugar skull. Individually, you get half of one, but it also kind of tells you what the color story is within each palette. Again, this packaging has that like rubberized feel to it. I'm not one who typically keeps outer packaging. I know some people do. I typically don't. But I'm going to for this collection because it's like a work of art. It truly is. So let's start off with the Morte palette. This is the deeper, darker of the two, and this was the one that I first initially picked up and then quickly realized like I need the Vita as well, and then placed a subsequent order for that. So this is what the palette looks like on the inside, and like I said, it is very deep and dark. What I like about this though is that there is the inclusion of these lighter shades over here and then this bright red as well, which just adds a lot of life and versatility to the palette. I think if they had just stuck with all of these really dark shades in here without providing these little pops of color, it wouldn't be a workable palette, because I think everything would be so dark that it would all just sort of look the same regardless of what color story or what eye look you're going for. There is a mix of mattes and shimmers in here, although this palette is predominantly mattes. So this one is a shimmer, this navy blue is a shimmer, and then this champagne color over here is also a shimmer. The rest of them are all mattes. Now I will say these mattes are a little bit stiffer to work with than others that I have. So in particular, this navy blue, which you will see me use in the eye demo coming up, I did have to build up the pigmentation with it a bit. So finger swatches kind of belie how these actually apply with a brush. For that reason, and forgive me, but for that reason, I'm going to skip out on doing finger swatches of these palettes. So having said that, I don't want it to be interpreted as these are crappy or they're not pigmented, because that is not the case. It's just that you have to work a little bit more with them. And there's pros and cons to that. So on the one hand, yeah, it's kind of frustrating because you have to build up the pigmentation, so you have to keep adding shadow and blending it out. However, on the other side, you get to keep adding shadow and blending it out. So it doesn't go on fully like, bam, there it is, and then that leaves you nowhere to go. It is a lot more flexible in that sense. So if you just want like a hint of color, that's an option, because sometimes with those really dark shadows, if they are like super pigmented right out of the gate, even if you use a light hand, you're still gonna have too much shadow, if you know what I mean. So I don't really view it as a complaint. What I will say is that with these lighter shades, like this like minty kind of color over here and this red, they are beautifully opaque. So again, there's still a little bit of adding to and blending out and that kind of thing, but I don't have any complaints about these actual shadows because they're completely workable. The shimmers are beautiful. They are not crumbly in the way that the shimmers within the Smoke Sessions palette were. Those kind of puffed up out of the pan. They were incredibly delicate, and when you put a brush in them, they kind of fell apart along the surface. That is not the experience that I've had with this palette and these shimmers. So that is the Morte palette. On the other side of things, we have, this way, the Vita palette. This is the brighter of the two palettes, and it is just so fun. It kind of looks like fall in palette form. And again, there is a mix of mattes and shimmers, but in here you're getting even fewer shimmers. There's only two. So this green is a shimmer, and then this reddish shade over here is a shimmer as well. These mattes, because they're not as rich and deep as the ones in the Morte palette, I haven't had as difficult of a time in terms of adding, like increasing the pigmentation of them. So in particular, this dark brown, I do have that on my eyes today, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. Again, I want to be very clear that I'm not complaining about the Morte palette. It's just if you're used to like super pigmented dark shadows, this one is going to have like a bit of an adjustment period for you. Anyways, back to Vita. I love the color story in here. Like, it's so bright, it's so fun. It looks very fall-esque to me, but at the same time, it can be used all throughout the year. And I really like that they've included those 3 neutral shades in here. I do have all 3 of them on my eye in this look that I'm wearing, but I think it really just grounds the palette. And when you compare the 2 of them together, or when you combine the 2 of them together, you have like an entire, I've got to try to do this without breaking anything. You have like an entire spectrum to work with, and there is so much versatility, whether you just get one or the other. This one I think is going to have more versatility to it just by the nature of the shades that are in there, but that's not to say that you can't get creative with this one either. But certainly if you compare that, certainly if you combine the 2 of them, you got it made in the shade, because you can go in any direction in that way. And I just adore the packaging. I like that they're like actually magnetic with each other. So these are what I would consider to be like a display piece. Like, these could just sit, I've got a shelf on my wall, and I intend to just have them sitting on there because, again, like I said, I think it's just so artistic and so unique and different. Honestly, no shade meant, but this is the kind of packaging that Kat Von D wishes she could have. Like, really, this is where I think she always wanted to go and just never quite got there. This is just mind-blowing. I am such a nerd for this packaging. I love it so much. Okay, so we're gonna set those aside. Like I said, I'm not gonna do swatches, but I do have 2 eye demonstrations to show you / tutorials. The one using the Morte palette is highly requested, so I hope that satisfies you guys. But let's for now move on to the lipstick trio. And again, the packaging here does not disappoint. Again, there is that like sort of, I call it die cut, I hope that's right, where it's like, or laser cut, I guess, where there's like the lettering just engraved into the packaging. The lipsticks themselves just like slide out like that. And again, I'm not one to normally keep outer packaging, especially on lip products, but this is just so different and so pretty that I very well just might. Even if I don't keep the lipsticks in them, I just want to keep the packaging. And I am not that person. Like, I am not. Let me get these lipsticks out and then we will get to swatching. So these are what the... You have something to say? What would you like to say? Yeah? Hello. Oh, hi, pup. What's going on? Do you want to come up on my lap? Oh, big hugs. Is that what you needed? You just needed some love? You know what? We all do sometime. Yeah. You're okay. You're okay. Let me finish up and we'll go for a walk, okay? She's so needy right now. I'm petting her head right now. If I move my hand away, she like does one of those with her nose. There, is that okay? All right, sorry. All right, before we move on to the actual lipsticks, I just want to geek out like one more second about the packaging. And it's only to say that I really appreciate that Melt uses the color of the lipstick as their font color as well. So again, if you just had these like stored in a drawer, you would know exactly what color it is. Likewise, on the tubes themselves, they have like a little window so you can see what the color of the lipstick is. And then on the other side where it says Melt, again, it's in the color of the lipstick. I have talked about the liquid lipstick formula from Melt in the past, and I am a big fan of it. I find it to be very comfortable. I find that you only need a very thin layer, although sometimes with darker shades I have found that they can get a little patchy, so wearing a lip liner is particularly helpful. But I find it to be a very comfortable lipstick to wear, and there is very good longevity. I have never come across an all-day wear liquid lipstick, like ever, even when it claims to be. Melt doesn't claim that with this, but I think you get a good amount of time out of them, upwards of like the 4-hour mark depending on what you're eating and drinking. So, having said that and given just a little bit of my experience with the formula, let's put them on my kisser so you can see what they look like. So we're gonna start off with the orange one. This is in the shade Monarca. I'm sure it's pronounced much more prettily in actual Spanish, but I'm doing the best I can. So there is the shade on my hand, and as you can see, it is a bright but orange. It's not like I don't detect any red in there, it is just a true orange. What I think makes this one more wearable is that it doesn't have any sort of neon aspect to it. So while it is a bright orange, it's still like an approachable orange. There's still a certain depth to it that makes it what I would consider to be wearable. I can appreciate that this would be outside the comfort zone of a lot of people, but I think it's really flattering. I think it's a really pretty, bright, fun color, and I think with this kind of shade you can wear it all year round. The next shade is Fiesta, and this is an incredibly bright pink. It's so pretty, but like, hold on to your butts because my god, it's bright. I told you, it's a bright pink. It's gorgeous, but it's incredibly bright. And there it is. I love this kind of color. I really do. I would wear, like I have worn this to the office. I have no issues wearing this kind of color out. It doesn't make me feel self-conscious. I just love it. I don't know what eye look, aside from something as neutral as this, I would pair this with the shades that are in these palettes. I'm sure somebody who has a more creative mind than me would come up with like some really interesting combos, but this is one that I have a hard time pairing with looks from these palettes, with the exception of something neutral. Not that there's anything wrong with neutral. I find that this balances it out, but with like the Morte palette where it's all really dark, almost jewel toned kind of shades, I think there's going to be a stark contrast, and then with the other where there's like bright orange and yellow and green, it's going to be a whole lot of bright on the face. Again, different strokes, different folks. For me, I just like to have the neutral aspect with it with a lip this kind of color. But my god, she's pretty. The last shade is another super fun one, and this is in the shade Mariachi, and it is purple. Alright, and there is Mariachi, and as you can see, it has like a little bit of a metallic finish to it. It's not super strong, like it is subtle, but you can see that it isn't as matte as the other two, for sure. But I find that that makes it a bit more wearable, to be honest. Because I think if it was a matte, like royal purple or matte grape kind of color, for me personally, I would have a hard time pulling that off and I would feel self-conscious in it. I don't know why, I just would. Purples and I don't always get along. However, this one has like a hint of pink in it that I think just makes it that much more wearable. So this is a shade that I would not feel self-conscious at all wearing basically wherever. I think it's beautiful. So I think that they have nailed the liquid lipsticks here. Again, I don't know how to pair this with the eyeshadows, but I'm okay with that because there's no rule that says I have to wear these with the eyeshadows, right? So while I don't think as a like cohesive collection they necessarily work together, I think they're totally fine to wear with any other palette. I'm quite happy with that. I think it would have been interesting for them to maybe throw in one gloss just for a different kind of finish, but I am glad that one has a very slight, subtle metallic sheen to it. I'm still trying to get on board with this whole metallic lip thing. I'm getting there, but certain shades just kind of make me do one of those. But this one, it's just subtle enough that it works. Okay, so now we've seen the lipsticks, we've talked about the eyeliner, we've looked at the packaging, talked about pricing, all of that good stuff. Now it's time to just sit back and take a look at a couple eye demos. So here we go.
Even if you tried, you wouldn't understand it. Maybe something's missing inside of you. Just a bit of sugar to that horrid bitter. Maybe you taste different. Hold up, baby. I can't sit beside you while you're going on about your simple life. Nothing left you thinking that maybe you're not different. Go on, blow up your ego, your undying ego. Oh, look here he goes, step guess it never hit you. Our conversation takes two, paying it some interest from time to time. Inside all that greatness and all of your adventures, you're all alone. Hold up, baby, I can't sit beside you while you're going on about your simple life. Nothing left you thinking that maybe you're not different. Go on, blow up your ego, your undying ego. Oh, look here he goes, stepping on toes with his humble and everlasting ego. Oh, here he goes, here he goes, here he goes. Oh, here he goes, oh, here he goes, oh, here he goes, here he goes, here he goes with his humble and everlasting ego. Someone hurt your feelings not that long ago, and every bit of you couldn't face the truth that maybe you're just not that nice and humble kind. That would be a lie. Go on, blow up your ego, your undying ego. Oh, look here he goes, stepping on toes with his humble and everlasting ego. Oh, here he goes, here he goes, here he goes. Oh, here he goes, oh, here he goes, oh, here he goes, here he goes, here he goes with his humble and everlasting ego.
I've been on my spaceship counting stars since '94, waiting for someone to come and knock on my door, looking for someone who'd be the Venus to my Mars. Why does love always have to be this hard? Got me feeling like for someone who can. You turn me on and I met you. Now I'm down to earth, that's salt and clear.
So there you have the eyeshadows in action. Now, when I do reviews of this nature, I try to find critiques and ways that I would improve on the items if possible. I'm drawing a blank. I genuinely don't know what I would improve in this. Like I said, the inclusion of a gloss might have been nice, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm happy with the liquid lipsticks. The eyeshadow palettes themselves, beautiful. And I'm okay with the fact that I have to kind of build up those darker shades in particular, because I think that makes it more user-friendly. I would point out they do kick up a fair amount in the pan, and I did have some transfer, so you'll have seen in the demos that I did my face makeup last. I typically do my face makeup first because I like to live life on the edge, but with these ones I would definitely recommend doing your eyes first before doing your base makeup. But again, that's not really a complaint, that's just a point to note. So I'm drawing a blank here. I'm sorry, I try to be more critical and I try to come up with like little areas of improvement, but I think they knocked it out of the park with this one. I'm so happy with this collection, and although it set me back a pretty penny to buy all the things that I did buy, I have no regrets. Like, there is no buyer's remorse here whatsoever. So, Melt Cosmetics, you frickin' nailed it. You did an awesome job with this. I'm excited to see what's coming next for their brand. I'm not in any rush because I just want to enjoy these ones, but they've really sort of, like, this collection has just inspired that love of makeup and revived it again for me. There have been so many cookie cutter releases throughout the entire year, and this is one that just, everything from the outer packaging to the color story to it just revived that love of makeup that I have, and I was so excited about this collection, and I'm so glad that it performs as well as I would hope that it would. So I'm just really happy, in case you couldn't figure out where I was going with this, I'm really happy with my purchases in this regard. I hope that the information in this video was helpful to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.